America could be headed for another 9/11. And it's all thanks to Joe Biden's open border madness. FBI Director Christopher Wray warning Congress of the emerging threat of a smuggling network with ties to ISIS and how it only takes a few unvetted border crossers to launch a deadly terror attack.
This is a huge, gaping vulnerability in our national security that we don't have answers for. I'm reminded that there were 26 co-conspirators in the 9/11 attacks against the United States. Do you share that concern?
I do.
Sometimes people say, "Well, this is just a fantastic theory. It's no basis in reality." Do you consider that to be a frivolous consideration?
I do not. There are a whole host of threats that emanate from the border. Numbers don't tell the whole story. It only takes a few people who can be responsible for a whole lot of harm.
But in the face of a terror threat, our president refuses to take any action. Instead, he continues to lie to Americans on how only Congress can fix it.
Mr. President, when is an border executive action coming? An executive action on the border.
Counting on the border action happened by itself, the passing it.
All right, Jesse, I'll go to you first. I mean, our government, Christopher Wray in particular, is very concerned about a smuggling network with ties to ISIS coming through the border, and it only takes a few to create another 9/11. So why won't Joe Biden take any executive action?
I honestly don't know, Judge. The director of the FBI and CIA are pleading with the president to do something to secure the border. They're begging him to secure the border. And he's just sitting there, let it happen on its own. He knows it's not coming from Congress, and he knows he has the executive power to make it happen. And it's not just these terror networks that are coming through. All of these people are being run through the cartel system, and 100,000 Americans are dying every year from fentanyl. So how much death is Joe Biden willing to tolerate? Apparently, Joe Biden is willing to tolerate American death in order to posture that he's compassionate, not Trump. I don't know. I wish I was in his head.
Just
room.
What did you say?
There's a lot of room in there.
Yeah. Jessica, last weekend, apparently 5 pedophiles came across, convicted pedophiles in 5 different sectors. Now, Joe Biden, I believe, should be caring more about Americans than open borders.
Totally. I want to first apologize for saying that Sarah Isker counseled Robert Hur. The Independent has retracted that. There are a number of articles online talking about the counsel that Hur did get from figures in the Republican world. He did appear as a private citizen, but I deeply apologize. I take this really seriously.
It's too late, Jessica.
No, it's actually
joking.
not too late. It was the next block. Jesse would have waited till the end of the show when someone told him he had to.
I would have teased the apology.
You said tune in at 8. I might apologize. Pedophiles are really bad. Also, as a side note,
Go out on a limb.
I don't want to be controversial.
So why isn't Joe?
No, I get it. What I didn't understand about this, and I thought it was very powerful to have all 6 of these representatives from like our highest law enforcement officers, and they were all speaking with one unified voice, which you don't always get in these panels, right? You have someone that's arguing this, someone that's arguing that. They're all completely freaked out about what's going on, saying that obviously the border is a serious threat for us, unified message on that. And the news then that he's not going to take executive action when a few weeks ago before the State of the Union, it was teased that that's possible. Why would that hurt your case at this point? It only would compel and make Republicans look worse for not signing the bipartisan border deal if you say, I did my part, now you do your part. So that didn't add up. I also thought it was really interesting that October 7th was such a pivotal point in what they were talking about, in a change and an uptick in all of this. And I would have liked to have heard more about that.
All right, Dana, apparently in Biden's 2025 fiscal year budget, it includes $1 billion American tax dollars going to Central America and something like $800 million for a cutting-edge technology at the ports of entry.
Is that for root causes?
I don't know.
They're going to throw some money at root causes. I mean, he knows that giving billions to other countries to solve the migrant crisis is basically like the American Rescue Plan of the border. It won't actually help anyone, but it'll raise prices for everybody else. And the reason he's not doing an executive order is because he's still trying to solidify his base. They have figured out, if you watch the State of the Union, what was it? It wasn't an appeal to the independent voter. It was a, I hear you on the left. And that's happening on Israel, it's happening on the border, it's happening on climate, like all of these issues. And you wonder, like, why isn't he doing the most commonsensical thing? It's because he's trying to figure out a way to make sure that the base turns out, because it's going to be a 50-50 election. He wants to win it. The top concern for Americans about immigration is this concern about people coming across the border illegally and maybe trying to do something like Al-Qaeda. There was an interesting exchange yesterday with Congresswoman Jayapal in which she said, the undertone from your side is that people are breaking into the country. I don't think people are breaking into the country illegally, which is fascinating, because really, you don't think that? Or do you think that everything that's happening at the border is okay? And if you think that, okay, then let's have that debate going into the election. The last thing I'll say is this crisis is the most preventable crisis in American history.
Right.
And the executive orders that he put in place in February of 2021 are the exact same ones that he could do again right now, but he's choosing not to. And we don't know what's in his head, except for I think it's solidifying the base.
You know, Greg, the FBI sees something like, I think it's enough fentanyl in the last 2 years to kill 270 million people. What's wrong with Biden?
You know, I think what's wrong is the words that we're using, all right?
Okay.
You keep calling people threats. People who pose as threats built this country, okay? And you call them smugglers. They're dreamer importers. They bring dreamers to the country. And can we stop calling it 9/11? I prefer the day where something happened, because that triggers Ilhan Omar. Yeah. The question is, why did it get to this point? And this is where the conflation of illegal and legal immigration takes us. It's a collapse of security. Every time the Dems say immigrants built this country, it deflects from an objective truth, which is that illegals are coming in by virtue of fake compassion. And just by doing the math, a tiny percentage of them is still thousands that could be rapists, thugs, and terrorists. That's just a fact. It's math. And it's not just part of this wonderful rainbow. We have a process in place to allow for immigration, which we embrace. But it only works if you disallow illegal immigration. If we get upset about illegal immigration and you call us bigots, then the whole thing falls apart. And there will be people that say, well, the people that attack America, they did it through different means. Well, that was because it was harder before to do this. It was harder to get into this country. Now it's not. It's a virtual cakewalk into this country.
All right.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.